entertainmentbuddha.com.
Hello everyone, guess what time it is? It's Star Wars time. That's right. It's me, Matt, if you haven't realized that. Hopefully you have, because you've been tuning in and listening to Star Wars Time Show, which is hosted by myself and my good friend down the south in the deep state, the Lone Star state of Texas, Nick Caminita. We're back with a new episode of Star Wars Time. I've said that about 30 times, but I'm just trying to beat it into your head. It's called repetition. It's going to seep into your brain. You're going to realize our excellence. You're going to realize our dedication to all things Star Wars. You're going to realize our midi-chlorian count. We're talking Anakin Skywalker levels, people. So, anyways, enough blown smoke up your ass. We're back. We're here to talk about clearly the biggest news item in Star Wars really for 2017, Nick, outside of when we're going to get another fucking Last Jedi trailer. But what went down this week needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed in detail, and it needs to be discussed with fanboy passion. So that's why Nick and I are here to talk about it. And what we're talking about, people, if you don't know by now, you're clearly not a Star Wars fan. But we have the Episode 9 director. That's right, it took less than a week. But we know who is taking over Episode 9. And who is it, Nick?
We know it is J.J. Abrams. I mean, Episode 7 director, J.J. Abrams. So, if you listen to the last cast, you also know that we called it. Essentially, I mean, yeah, we listed a bunch of other directors, but we shortlisted. We're like, here are the three people most likely to direct Episode 9, and J.J. Abrams was right there in that three. So you can say...
he was my number one. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to be honest, people. Sometimes we do these casts after I've had a few happy hour drinks. All right? So I'm a little loose, might not remember much of what I've talked about, but I'm pretty sure I went with J.J. number one just because I was just taking the logical approach. And I really thought, if you will, that it was JJ or Ryan's movie to take.
Oh yeah, I mean it really was, and we could see that just from the announcement and how fast it came. Like they probably didn't even consider outside people. They didn't even consider.
I honestly think it took a week because JJ had to really consider it. Because I mean, if you watch the behind the scenes or really any of the stuff, he genuinely is obviously blessed. He's like, hey, this is a dream come true. I love that I had the opportunity. But you could also tell as an artist, he's like, I know I am now labeled as like the sequel maker and yada, yada, yada. And it just goes to show this week, Nick, what was some of the stories behind JJ taking it over? Oh, JJ's going to actually have to finally finish something.
Yeah, I mean...
You know what I mean? So... I really think the week wait was just JJ thinking, like, do I really want to get mixed up in this? And in the end, anyone that grew up, I mean, he's kind of closer to my generation than even your generation, but I just think JJ deep down is like, you know what? I have to do it.
I think he does. I mean, he's the guy who started this trilogy. He's the guy who... essentially
and he's been
Star Wars.
EP on both the sequels. I mean, he is already credited as an executive producer on Last Jedi and Episode 9.
Yeah, so he's in this new trilogy. He's in this new saga of Star Wars since it's been bought by Disney, and he's
almost, I mean, hear me out on this. He's almost the George Lucas of this new trilogy.
I mean, he kind of is. George Lucas for the original trilogy was the director of the first one and then stayed on as like the head of the story and, the I guess you would say the lore master of Star Wars for the rest of them. And that's kind of what JJ has been doing anyway. I mean, he was going to play the EP role on Episode 9 even if he didn't direct it anyway. So he was going to be there.
And he probably provided story tips even for the Leia swing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's probably been working on Star Wars behind the scenes for episodes 8 and 9 this whole time. I mean, we don't know the level of involvement. He might not have been an active, in the writing room the whole time or anything like that, but he was more than likely playing like a consultative role. If somebody had a story question, like, where do we go here? They would talk to Lawrence Kasdan and they talk to J.J. Abrams, because those are essentially the two people who resurrected Star Wars with Episode 7. Those were the two that came together, put their heads together, and said, we need to make Star Wars as great as it can be to bring it back into theaters. So how do we do that? And those two came together and put together an excellent movie.
And by the way, JJ's taking over of The Force Awakens was kind of in the same fashion. You know what I mean? I mean, they didn't really have a director named, but they did have a guy that was writing the story and pretty much wrote the full story. But what happened? I mean,
yeah, JJ came on and he was like...
He came in and rewrote the whole fucking thing. And I think that's what they're doing now with 9. I mean, the fact that they and we'll talk about this more in depthly a little bit later on, but the fact that they've now pushed production out to June instead of January of 2018... that has to be all for story building at this point.
Oh, yeah. When they made the announcement, they also... Not only did they say he's going to be directing and writing this movie. So
With a partner.
With a partner.
Like, to me, it sounds like they're coming in and they're going to almost redo the whole thing with probably the catch of, hey, we'll still credit these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how much of their work that they keep. I mean, I think if you looked in the credits for Episode 7, Michael Arndt was still
Michael
in
Arndt,
there.
Yeah, he gets a top billing. I mean, he gets a solo prominent credit.
Yeah, so he's in there, even though there were significant changes made to his story after JJ came in to do the directing and the writing with his partner. So his writing partner on Episode 9 is Chris Terrio. He wrote Argo. So he's coming in. He's going to work with JJ to pretty much take Episode 9 and, I don't want to say redo the whole thing, because I'm sure there are story elements there that are going to be kept, and probably the main beats are already in there. But they're going to come in and they're going to do it their way. They're going to take what Colin Trevorrow and his writing co-part did, and then just kind of throw it out and say, all right, guys, this is time to do it JJ style, and that's what they're going to do.
And clearly, I don't think this is just JJ coming in and doing it on his own. I think this is what he was hired to do. I mean, it sounds, in the end, outside of Trevorrow apparently being a fucking cocky asswipe, she also didn't really like the direction that the story was going.
Yeah, and that's like something that was consistent across the reason for hiring or for firing Colin Trevorrow, and also the reason for firing the two guys from the Han Solo film. Chris.
Well, yeah, I mean, those slapdicks, it sounded like they're trying to turn Han Solo into the Lego Han Solo movie.
Yeah, so, but clearly with just the weight that they're putting on the story here, we know that Kathleen Kennedy and we know that Lucasfilm is not messing around. I mean, they have a story that they want to tell, and yeah, you can put your own artistic flair to it if you want to, but if you start going off book, if you start going down wormholes that you're not supposed to go down, they're not going to hesitate about just kicking your ass out. And we've seen it twice already, and how many new Star Wars movies have come out? 2? To this point, we haven't even gotten a third one yet, and we've already gotten 2 directors fired. So this is going to show people in the future, like, when you come on to Star Wars, people, there's a story to tell.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of wiggle room, but if you start going crazy, we will throw you out, and we don't care. We don't care what your name is.
But not really. I mean, they pretty much were like, JJ is exactly what we want.
Oh, yeah.
Gareth Edwards are like, well, this is what you get if you slightly veer from what we want. Chris Lord and Phil Miller, or whatever the fuck their names are, reverse that, probably. If you try to really make it your own, you're out. And then Colin, they're like, if you're a cocksucker, you're also out.
Yeah, I mean, so... basically,
so they want JJ to essentially do it everything.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not a bad guy to do it. And honestly, I think that Ryan was probably in the running to do this. Like, they didn't immediately jump to JJ. But here's the thing is, like, Ryan would have come off of 8 and then had almost no downtime between.
Yeah, exactly. And I made that case. I did an editorial on it this week. I mean, I just think timeline-wise and his commitments to promoting this film, I honestly think promoting The Last Jedi will extend into 2018 for various, other territories across the world here. And I think it was a time thing. And I also think Ryan is the type of guy, like, he needs to know what he's working on so he can get artistically and intimately involved with something.
Yeah.
Because his quote was pretty much directly, it's definitely not on my schedule. And to me, that's an indication I'm not getting it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he also said that he was looking forward to watching Star Wars Episode 9 as a fan in the theaters. I mean, this was before the JJ announcement came out, when there was a lot of speculation around him being the one to take the director's chair. And he almost, like, obviously, there could have been some posturing there, like him just not wanting to say too much. Maybe they did ask him and, he had said no, or maybe he had to think about it or something like that. But clearly the guy he's put a lot into Episode 8. Years of work, not just, directing, but writing. We all know that the directors on these movies also do a huge portion of writing.
They're all. This is a near 3-year commitment of life for these guys.
Yeah, so he would pretty much be rolling out of Episode 8, like you said, right into promo for, just press junkets and world travel to continue promoting Episode 8. He gets like a 3-week break, and then they're like, all right, time to start shooting Episode 9. And then you have shooting, you have post, then you have the same shit that went into Episode 8. You go into, your press again. It would have been really hard.
I also think he's the type of director that wants to have a hand in the story and needs to have a hand in the story. I mean, I think he's that good at both sides of the coin there. I mean, I think he's a great screenwriter, and I think he's a great director.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he needs, and clearly it's not even thinking. I mean, a human needs that time to write the story in their head as they want to shoot it, and then be able to execute it as a director.
Yeah, and he's done his job gracefully so far too, and that includes doing pieces for Episode 9, rewrites because of Carrie Fisher's passing, and then also some directing for a scene or something.
I mean, dude, from what we've heard, I'm expecting his movie in the end to be the Empire of this trilogy. I think it's not just thematically, but the movie that we're like, this is the definitive film in this trilogy.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I just truly believe that. I mean, I love JJ's opening, but there are the critiques and the similarities to A New Hope, and it doesn't bother me like it bothers some people. I mean, I don't know about you, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but I've seen a lot of negative reactions to the JJ hire.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
But I've also seen an equal amount of positive reactions. So he's that type of director. I mean, some people really did not like The Force Awakens because they think it was a rehash of New Hope. But I mean, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I think a lot of my enjoyment was based on how low my expectations may have been for the Star Wars saga after what I was put through with the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I approached Episode 7 cautiously optimistic, because I was 100% in. Like, I was expecting the movie to be great.
I knew it was going to be solid.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess in the back of your mind, when you're a hardcore Star Wars fan like we are, there's always going to be the lowered bar because of the prequels. So, like, even if you're going in and you're expecting...
the guy that created everything made those movies. So yes, you got to have a little bit of concern.
Yeah, so, like, even though all of us go into a Star Wars movie expecting and hoping it to be as great as Empire or even better, there's always that part in the back of our mind where it's like, as long as it's better than Episode 2, I'm happy. And, like, that's like... That's the bar, as long as...
Dude, watching paint dry is better in Episode 2. I mean, that's a low bar.
You're not wrong. But, I mean, But that applies, though. I mean, we may not think about it consciously, but if we come out of, I think everybody came out of episode 7, and even if you did feel that, like, oh, yeah, it's a rehash, the story's very similar, and all of this stuff, I mean, that movie is very enjoyable, even if the story beats are kind of following episode 4, it's still a good movie. It's very visually appealing. The characters in it, I thought, were very well acted and well written. Even
dude, to this day, I don't know about you, but me, and it's not obviously as strong as it was in 2015, the first few times I saw it. But the scene at the end when they're fighting in the forest and the Skywalker family sabers in the snow.
Oh, man.
And the music cues up and he reaches for it and she grabs it. It nearly knocks me on my ass every time.
Chills.
And that to me, dude, fuck chills. I mean, I'm talking up until like the 10th screening, I would be visibly upset, like crying and like very like, wow, this really fucking touches me.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me is proof that movie, regardless of the similarities, was done well enough to set up the characters for someone like me to buy into them to the point where it can visibly knock me off my ass in terms of my emotional response.
Absolutely. And I mean, even, the scene with Han Solo's death scene is still very, I mean, I remember seeing that the first time in the theaters. Like, I tears came down my face. I wasn't like...
It was like, I mean, I was shocked because I didn't know. I mean, I tried to avoid those type of spoilers, and I'm glad I did. Because, yeah, I was like, holy shit.
I mean, if people have been listening to...
What?
If we've had longtime listeners who can remember the casts that we did leading up to episode 7, I mean, they knew that I was calling for Han Solo's death the whole time. I was like, he's going to die, he's going to die, he's going to die. But, like, even though I had projected that to come when that moment hit, I still was not emotionally prepared for it. Because it's like, okay... In my mind, I know this is a strong possibility, but it's like you're losing one of the most adored Star Wars characters in history, not just in, like, the original trilogy. In every Star Wars thing ever, Han Solo is one of the most revered
dude, without even... I mean, I ignored your warnings completely. And I can tell you for a fact, when I first watched that movie, I wasn't even thinking about it. So I knew it was going to happen the moment I saw Han yell Ben. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then the way it played out with the way the light closes out still, I think is brilliant.
Yeah, that shot was incredible.
And it was emotional, but yeah, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, and just, oh man, it's rough. But anyway, I mean, like we were saying, with the negative response around JJ, we always have to remember that we're dealing with the internet. I mean, they could have literally announced Martin Scorsese as the director of this film, and you would have had a bunch of people who were pissed off at that. Like, no matter who was announced, there was going to be negative reaction from some portion of the internet.
Jesus could have taken it over, and people would have been pissed off.
Like, he doesn't know it. I mean, like, it would have been... It didn't matter. Like, people would have lost their shit regardless of who it was. But I think that a large majority of Star Wars fans are happy to see JJ back just because they know the quality of his work. It doesn't matter if maybe you weren't the biggest fan of what he did to Star Trek. Maybe you felt like, the story.
And you're ridiculous. I mean, the Star Trek reboot is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean,
get the fuck
it's a great.
out of
I think like the people who really don't like that are like hardcore Star Trek lore hounds who are like, you just reset everything with this whole, I mean, like.
And I give them that
Yeah.
because as a Star Wars fan, I have the right to consider the prequels to be the scum of the earth and fucking trash and garbage, and they really shouldn't even exist.
So yeah, that's like the new Star Trek is like our prequels. So to Star Trek, like, to Trekkies. So, but I mean, I think JJ is going to do a great job. I mean, you can't say you may have your gripes with
there's
the episode
no fucking
4 story.
doubt, man. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you can have your opinions about the story. You can have your opinions about certain aspects of episode 7. But I mean, you can't say that movie was not well acted, well directed. and visually appealing, and wasn't visually appealing. I mean, it was all of those things. So I'm excited to have him back. Here's one thing I want to ask you. Would you have rather seen somebody else do it?
Outside of Rian Johnson, no. Because I'll tell you why. And I think we could probably document this in previous casts. I was never a huge fan of the random directors anyways.
Yeah.
I never felt, and I hate that I keep saying because I speak professionally and that drives me nuts. But anyways, I never saw a Star Wars trilogy as making sense to be split up between different people. And we're seeing why. Because everyone's different in the end. And especially like a field in Hollywood where you're a director, you're someone trying to make a name for yourself, you're always going to want to do what you want to do because you're going to think you're right. And just as we're seeing things play out, in the end, Star Wars is Star Wars. It doesn't need fucked with. You just need to fucking tell the fucking story as the story's been fucking told since 1977.
You're right, yeah. And I mean, yes, people listening to the podcast, Matt knows that the original trilogy had 3 different directors, but we've been over it before. Basically, the way that you think about that is, yeah, you had Irvin Kershner and Lawrence Kasdan behind, like in the director's chair for those, but Lucas was like the shadow director.
He was still providing the content in the end. I mean, he was the guy shaping the story for the most part. I mean, he gave him the meat.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree with you in that sense. Like, he was, even though it was, there were 3 different directors billed for those films, Lucas was there for all of them.
No, you make a good point. I'm glad you corrected me because you could definitely poke holes in my little rant right there. But Lucas, in the end, was still in control.
Yeah.
I mean, he was still a driving force in those. And that's my point, where when they announced this brand new trilogy and they're like, X, Y, and Z are going to direct, I'm like, how are we going to keep the continuity here in terms of just how you shoot it? Because I don't think people understand that in the end, a director is still a guy directing camera shots and angles and wipes and edits, and
yeah,
that can make a film look entirely different.
And that was,
I mean, look at like a Guy Ritchie edit versus a George Lucas edit. I mean, they're insanely different, and that's my point. Where how do you take a trilogy like Star Wars and just kind of trust that 3 different people are going to somehow still give you a very streamlined, similar feeling product?
Yeah, and that was something that a lot of people don't even really realize about the original trilogy, is even though that there were 3 different directors, the visual continuity between those films is seamless. Like you said, with the scene transitions, the wipes and stuff like that, it was all visually.
You wouldn't know that different people directed them. Honestly,
exactly.
You wouldn't.
I mean, if you went through and like really combed and you were like just, if you were in the know or you went to film school and you're really versed in like camera moves and maybe just like the intricacies of directing and of camera work with the director of photography, like maybe you might be able to pick out some differences between each director's style and how they did them in each movie. But for the everyday viewer of film who doesn't have like a background in film history or making films, like you really can't tell that there were 3 different directors. So with this, I could see your point. How, like going into this trilogy, it's like now we kind of have to think like, is Rian Johnson's directing style going to be different in some way than J.J. Abrams, and are we going to be able to see that translated in Episode 8? And are we going to be able to feel the switch back from Episode 8 to 9? Are we going to be able to see, like, okay, Rian did this in 8, and there's a similar thing in 9, but you can see JJ's kind of spin on it instead of, Ryan's way of doing it. So you're right. The visual continuity is a big thing. But I think, like, they probably had that under control, right? Like, the post group and whoever's making the final calls on the edits and who's, sitting in the bay probably has like a pretty good, handle on how things done.
Hey, man, we're going to find out December 15th.
You're right, yeah.
But I honestly think that this movie will fundamentally look different than The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see.
They already said he used the least amount of wipes in Star Wars history.
Do you think that's just because there's more long-form shots and there's fewer scene transitions?
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like his other movies. I mean, think of even Looper.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that movie is exposition and the guy just kind of, reflecting on his situation, and there aren't a lot of big musical scenes or action sequences until the end.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could see...
And I would love that. I mean, I would love for nothing but an hour straight of Rey and Luke just conversation and reflection.
Yeah, I mean, we know that there's going to be a lot of exposition between those two characters for sure because they're literally stuck on an island. So you don't have a lot of things to wipe to when Luke and Rey are sitting down talking about his exile or, her force training.
And we should, as Ryan has said, we should hopefully learn more about why Luke is doing what he's doing, because he said it, Hamill said it, Luke clearly is this very all-powerful being, but due to whatever happened and how he feels, he's decided it's better to just be on the sidelines than get involved with the First Order, and it literally blowing up a solar system. I mean, it blew up the New Republic. It's gone.
Yeah, the Hosnian system.
I mean, it's fucking gone, and Luke's still just like, whatever.
Like, yeah, well, that kind of shit
I'm still
happens.
better here, because if I get mixed up in this shit, who knows what's gonna happen.
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess for me, the only other person that I would really like to see do it was Lawrence Kasdan. Just because, he's been on it forever. Him and JJ are essentially the gatekeepers of this franchise
I
now.
feel like they're almost synonymous with each other.
Yeah, they're like one and the same, pretty much. But, I mean, I just think that, it would have been really cool to see him come back after doing 6 and then do 9. I mean, like you said, there was probably going to be very little difference on Lawrence's take and JJ's take on, how they would have executed it. Maybe there would have been a small bit of difference, but I think Lawrence has had such a huge influence on JJ, maybe not his directorial style, but the story that is being told here and how it's almost like Lawrence is like a Star Wars father to JJ now that he's come on to the trilogy. Because I mean, that's it. I mean,
JJ,
we can.
I am your father.
Except he doesn't cut his hand off. Exactly. But I mean, we can all.
He hands him a pencil or something.
I mean, we can all remember seeing the image of George Lucas sitting in that restaurant with J.J. Abrams right when he was announced as the director for Episode 7. So, J.J. was pretty much everybody's pick for Episode 7. But after he came on, George was kind of done with it. It's not. I don't think that George and JJ talked on the phone every day to ask how'd film go. How'd filming go? Are you hitting your beats? Is this being done? No, that was Lawrence and JJ, and they've really stuck together ever since that film has wrapped up and moving into.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Disney was like, "Hey George, thanks, but back the fuck up."
Yeah. So that would be the only other guy I would like to see do it, but I'm sure he's still going to have, a significant role in the production of Episode 9, even if he doesn't get a main card credit or anything like that. We all know that he's playing his role, and he's probably the second most important person in Star Wars right now behind Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, the guy is. He knows everything. He knows everything about Star Wars, and he's the one that's kind of shepherding this new trilogy through. So that would be my other pick.
Well, I mean, if we're talking just random, never going to happen scenarios, I still think Nolan could make a pretty excellent Star Wars movie.
Yeah, super realistic. just like gritty.
I would want him to make it in the style of Dunkirk, and if you haven't seen it, or if anyone listening hasn't seen it, you need to go see it. Why? I mean, I think it's still in theaters. It's one of the most unique movies I've ever seen to portray a World War II event, because there's very minimal dialogue. You really don't even learn the character names. It's just non-stop, like boop, 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 survive, 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 survive. So I think he can make a pretty great Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Just the way he likes to shoot, the type of music he likes to use. He's far out, but he hits every time to me. Like, I feel like that guy hasn't made a bad movie, right? I mean,
I don't think so. I mean, like, I'm not.
Has he really made a bad movie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know his entire film history. I mean,
like,
but
Memento was probably his Here I Am,
yeah,
you know?
For sure.
And then clearly he got Batman, which he slayed, I think. I mean, I think that's one of the best comic book trilogies out there.
Yeah.
And then obviously
Inception.
Inception was fantastic. Dunkirk is great.
Didn't he do something between
Interstellar? I thought it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like, you'd have to go really far back to see a film of Nolan's that really wasn't great.
But I like the way he makes movies all around. I like the way he shoots. I like the way he directs. I like everything. I like the way he edits. I like how he chooses the music to be used. So I really think he could have made a very neat and different Star Wars, but clearly I knew he was not even in the picture because of his I think his unique style and the way he likes to operate. I think he'd kind of butt heads with the system here.
Do you think, given his stature, I mean, like, we've already talked about, you know, the hounds out there at Lucasfilm making sure to keep things, you know, relatively consistent, keep the ship on the right path. But do you think that, given his stature, they would give him a spinoff and then give him more leeway than, like, say, the Han Solo?
A spinoff without a doubt. I mean, I think spinoffs are fair game to be interpreted as you see fit. I mean, even in Rogue One, we had enough changes that it felt different than we've ever seen. I mean, you can't tell me that the beginning, when you didn't get a crawl, and then you just, 10 minutes in, you get that little Rogue One.
Yeah. I mean,
that it didn't immediately make it feel like a different movie, although in the end it still felt very Star Wars.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking,
so he'd be fantastic for that type of role. I mean, I would love to see him do Boba Fett or do Obi-Wan. I mean, could you imagine him doing Obi-Wan?
Yeah. Dude, that would be, Obi-Wan would be great. I think the movie, like, the spinoff that he needs to do is the Vader. Like, that would be where he thrives, because he writes he writes villains so well.
Come on, dude. You're just dreaming now. I mean, now you truly are in the land of make believe.
I am, but
I do not see them making Vader standalones, and I think it's a fucking crime.
You're probably right, but still,
I don't think they're gonna do it.
I mean, I think that's how you approach the standalones, though. Like, Gareth Edwards, yeah, he was a good director. He had Godzilla and stuff like that. But I feel like they're approaching the standalones as, like, here's a director that we know can do good things, but they haven't had, like, their breakout yet. They haven't had their massive hit that rockets them to stardom. And I feel like they're given...
Yeah, but in the end, they're reversing course, and they're like, all right, fuck it, let's just go with the tried and true winners.
Well, I feel like that's what they should do now. Like, every standalone moving forward, you give it to guys like... Or you at least approach guys like Nolan. You go to Joss Whedon. You go to Spiel... Like, all these guys that we talked about on the last cast. Like, these guys who are outside of Star Wars... who would do excellent with Star Wars movies. Matthew Vaughn, like, there are a ton of directors you could list. Fincher, if he wanted to.
Well, speaking of him, and it's not related to Star Wars, but today he confirmed that he's in talks to do Man of Steel 2.
Wait, who? Matthew Vaughn? Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing that gets me excited for an actual DC movie outside of Justice League now because...
Right? I mean, I think that's fantastic.
You know what I think happened? Like, they saw... This is what happened. WB saw, like, pre-Joss Whedon Justice League, and then they saw post-Joss Whedon Justice League, and they're like, maybe we don't need Zack Snyder as much as we thought we did. So maybe there are other people out there who could make these movies really well. And then also, I mean, Patty Jenkins did a fucking incredible job.
I was going to say,
Wonder
dude,
Woman.
fuck all that. I mean, Jenkins slayed it with Wonder Woman is their best film ever.
Yeah, I mean, she's already on for 2.
It's already destroyed any like DC sales.
Yeah, I mean, but Vaughn doing Man of Steel 2, that actually gets me interested in a Superman movie because, like, Man of Steel 1 was okay, but it's just like the way Snyder writes Superman is so flat, and like I just feel like it could be done better.
Snyder is best behind the camera. Like, I mean, his talent is in setting up shots and action sequences. I mean, the guy kills it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt the guy can shoot action set pieces.
That's one thing. Like,
yeah.
I would not want to see Zack Snyder on a Star Wars movie. Please, for the love of God, keep him away. Like you said, he does visual things really well, but story, he's just not strong. And I feel like you have to have strong story writing talents to be able to work in the Star Wars franchise. If you don't, then you don't have any business being here.
And that's one thing that I think JJ shines in. I mean, if you look at his backlog of projects he's been involved in, it's staggering. I mean...
Oh, yeah. And I mean...
Alias, fucking Lost. I mean...
But like you...
Alias is... If you guys have never watched Alias, it's seriously one of the best fucking TV shows
Fringe,
ever.
if you like, I really loved Fringe, and he was behind that too. And I thought that Fringe was one of the best crime procedural TV shows on there. And like, granted, like there was a bunch of crazy like pseudoscience, sci-fi shit mixed in there too. But the story of Fringe alone was, I mean, even without all the crazy.
I mean,
shit,
dude,
so good.
Lost. I mean, let's be real. Lost is going to go down as one of the most influential type of TV shows of that era. I mean, both good and bad based on its ending. The way you took it, but that fucking when he was involved with or kicking off the first season, I mean, that show was insane.
Yeah, and well, now that you bring up the ending of Lost, I mean, like you said, people are really apprehensive about him having to close out this trilogy. So, I mean, like, do you even feel that? Like, do you think that he's just not a closer?
No. Absolutely not. Because in the end, he had nothing to do with Lost after, like, the first season. He was not writing it. It was Lindelof and Carlton Cuse. So that's not him. I mean, I think their whole thing is that JJ's been the sequel guy. You know, he's never had to actually finish a series.
Yeah, but I think I don't think that finishing a series is unlike continuing a series. I mean, I think if you're a writer and if you're a professional writer like he is, like in
the end, the Star Wars story group controls the general direction of the fucking, especially the Skywalker saga. I mean, let's be real.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not like they're going into episode 9 and we're like, we don't know how this ends. JJ, tell us how it ends. Like,
yeah, JJ, make it up. I mean, they have what the beats they want to hit. He's coming in to figure out how to shoot it in the best and most entertaining way at this point, because clearly, Homeboy before him was not doing it the way they wanted it to happen. Like, it either sucked or they thought they were changing the core philosophy of a Star Wars movie and how it's shot, how it's acted, how it's directed. And they know JJ's going to come in and do exactly kind of what they're looking for. And it's going to be good.
See, like, here's how I imagine getting a Star Wars project works if you're a director's writer like JJ is, like Ryan is, like Colin was hired to do. They basically give you an outline, and they're like, this is what happens in the beginning, this is what happens in the middle, this is what happens in the end. Here's some details that we need to hit along the way. Now, what your job is to write the fill-in and get us to where we're going. So, like, there is some writing that's required. Like, you have to fill in story points and stuff like that.
Give us the dialogue that's going to get them emotionally engaged with the
Exactly.
characters.
So, like, that's the job of these guys coming in to do this film is, like, you need to get us from point A to B to C. Yeah. And even though they may not have to come up with those big moments, like, you know, the introduction of characters, you don't have to come up with the ending of the movie, but you have to do a good enough job of writing to be able to make those points flow coherently throughout the film. And, I mean, clearly it's not as easy as some people would think, especially when you're working within the framework of Star Wars. I mean, you can't just write random shit. You can't write off-the-wall shit like, you know, Rey pilots the Millennium Falcon into a wormhole and then ends up behind the Star Destroyer or some shit like that. Like, you got to keep this shit in Star Wars, you know, what we're familiar with, at least a little bit. So, yeah, I mean,
if you think about it, the Falcon really is an old piece of shit by their time, isn't it?
Now it is, yeah. I mean, we're talking, like you said, Luke called it a hunk of junk in, you know, episode 4, and that was probably when it was only like 10 years old. Now
it's got to be
50,
what, like
70,
80 years old?
I mean, it's an old fucking ship, but I mean, and God knows how long it was sitting on Jakku not doing anything.
Yeah, but you know Chewie probably is pimping it out on Ahch-To.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got, you know, hydro spanners and everything. He's going to work. He's not just sitting on the ship twiddling his thumbs. He's got the
Porgs doing it, too. The Porgs are fucking helping.
Yep. So, and then we'll have, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some other little modifications that they make and stuff, but the Falcon is, yeah, she's an old girl. Oh, man, you don't think that we're ever going to see a moment in this new trilogy where the Falcon is, like, legit destroyed? Do you?
Woo!
That would be hard. That would be like watching a character die.
Woo! Oh, dude. I mean, it would be... Yeah, it'd be up there. It'd be right around watching a droid go down, although I could argue that the droids would almost be a little bit more impactful. Although we've already seen C-3PO literally get blown to bits and he came back to life. So
yeah, that's true.
The droids, I mean, so did R2, let's be honest. In the Battle of Yavin, he got fucking exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, he was fucking dead.
But like
when they pulled him out, he was like, I mean, he wasn't even alive, and C-3PO was like, oh my god.
I mean, like, could you imagine a scene though where like they're like, somebody's on the Falcon, you know, Rey, Chewie.
Well, it would be Chewie. I think the way to do it would be Chewie by himself, heroically going out,
goes down, and like he's like only
ram something, yeah. or fucking get spring someone free to make a jump to hyperspace or whatever.
And him and the Falcon go out together, dude. That would be so rough. Oh my god, I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah, I feel like taking a moment of silence now, just thinking about it.
It's, whew, man.
Humana.
I don't know if I could take Chewie going down though. I mean, like, we've already had Han go out. We see, like, I mean,
in the end, do you see them whacking all the classics?
Oh man, I mean, like, I do see, like, obviously Leia is going to die, and I really think that Luke is too. But I mean, like, don't kill Chewie, please. Like, just don't. I don't know why. Like, Chewie is just one of those characters that's like, he should be in it forever.
Well, Wookiees can live for hundreds of years, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have like definitive lifespans on Wookiee.
I mean,
I'm sure
at
we
this
could look
point,
it up.
I think Chewie's pushing 3 digits.
He's close. You think he's close? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't want to see him go out. I just like Chewie is just one of those characters that I just feel like always needs to be there. Just like,
I don't know. I'm always conflicted because the older I got, the more I was into the dark side. Just honestly, based on their style, their armor, their military, and Vader. But I always, as a kid, kind of associated with Luke. So it would be hard to see Luke go down unless it made sense.
Oh yeah, I agree that it like.
And I mean, in the end, I think Han went down making sense. I mean, I think it was the best. The best death you could have given Han Solo.
Yeah, I agree. And like, obviously, if Luke dies, like that will be more emotional to me than if Chewie dies. But it's just like, I don't know if I could ever find a legitimate reason for Chewie to die, though. It's like his character is super
I think it's what I
important.
said.
Yeah.
I think it's the only reason for him to die is a heroic moment of all heroic moments.
Yeah, like that's how he
'Cause
died.
that's who Chewie is. I mean, he's a fucking hero.
That's how he died in the old EU, though. Like, people that read those books know that, like, he went out and basically saved Anakin Solo's life. And, like, that's how he went. Like, the motherfucker had a planet crash on him, and that's, like, how he died. It's like, and, like, he went out about as badass as you could in those books. And I hope you're right. Like, if he does die in his trilogy, it's got to be, like, heroic saving Rey or something. Like, he has to save one of the main
BB-8.
characters. Yeah, something like that.
It has to be at least BB-8, Rey, and probably Finn.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way. Or, like, dude, could you imagine if, like, he goes down saving Leia from something, like, in this movie? Oh, my God.
Well, they keep telling us that somehow Leia's going to have an epic send-off, even though it wasn't planned. I mean, that still doesn't make sense to me, so we'll see. But, yeah, it'd be great and very sad. But, I mean, if Chewie does go out, I think the only way he goes out is in a very heroic fashion.
True.
Which would be the same with Luke. I mean, I think if Luke goes out, it's going to be a mirror of Obi-Wan's sacrifice.
Yeah, like he's...
where it's going to be, I know I can better benefit you, as in Rey, if I am a Force Ghost.
Yeah, so, like, he's, like, stalling Kylo as she's getting away.
Yeah.
Dueling
he just
somebody.
toys with Kylo and eventually lets Kylo strike him down, but he's already meditated into the Force.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, like, he's probably got, like, Force Ghost, you know, status locked down. Like, even though he's got this weird shit going on in his head right now, he's probably still...
Oh, dude,
okay.
I mean, come on. This guy's been chilling on the first ever Jedi everything for who knows how many years. I mean, if he doesn't know how to turn into a Force Ghost, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally been communing with Yoda, with Obi-Wan, maybe even with Qui-Gon.
The two guys that figured it out. I mean, if it wasn't for Qui-Gon, no one would have figured it out.
Exactly. So, I mean...
And I just wish that was another shortcoming in the prequels, that they poorly explained that Qui-Gon was the one that eventually got to Yoda and Obi-Wan and taught them that, hey, if you do this while you're alive, you can essentially always stay alive.
Yeah, I mean...
And just turn into the Force.
Yeah, that was literally like a 20-second line from Yoda at the very end of Episode 3, like, explaining that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
your old master has figured a way to, you know, to live on through the Force or something like that. Like, yeah, the fact that wasn't explained better, you're right, is a travesty. But, I mean, yeah, Luke's got to be fine there. I mean, I don't imagine that he goes down and there's not, like, Force Ghost Luke in Episode 9.
I mean, dude, I could see it happening. I'm still, and I want to write a piece on this, still thinking or proposing, speculating, if you will, what is going to be the driving force behind him getting involved in one way or the other. I mean, I feel like at this point...
It's got to be Leia for me.
He's going to get mixed up in it somehow, and it's either going to be, yeah, do I go help my sister, or, oh shit, my fucking nephew found me, and now we either have to take him on or run and get away. And if we're going to get away, we might as well join up with these people.
See, I feel like it would be a little weaker if it was like, if he was forced into it. Like you said, like, oh no, the First Order found me, they found Acto, so I have to go. Like, I don't have a choice, I have to go.
Haven't we figured out either through a toy leak or the cards that they have technology to trace hyperspace travel?
I know that, yeah, we've talked about that before.
So, I mean, if that's the case, that's already setting it up for they tracked fucking Rey and Chewie and R2.
But I would hope, like, that he makes the decision on his own. Like, he's not forced into action, but, like, something happens to where he's like, okay, I have to...
he discovers something about himself or Rey or Kylo or, to him, Ben. Like, all right, time to fucking suck it up, pussy.
Yeah, see, like, that's one moment that we never really got in the original trilogy was, like, I think it would have been really powerful in that moment between Vader and Obi-Wan if Obi-Wan would have called him Anakin. Like, if he would have used his real name and not said,
Oh, in A New Hope?
Yeah. Like, he would have called him, like you said, like, if we get that moment.
That just goes to show that in the end, none of the fucking shit was really ever planned. He always only planned A New Hope.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You're right there. But it's just like, could you imagine, like you said, like Luke is not going to call Kylo, he's going to call him Ben. He's not going to call him by his dark force, dark
it's just
Lord
like
name.
Han. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I heard it. Ben, I'm like, no shit, they created a Ben Solo.
Yeah. And it's just, I feel like that would have been a powerful moment between Obi and Vader, is if in that showdown he calls him Anakin. Because
so you're saying they should remake the original trilogy?
Don't ever say no. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting any more updates. I'm not suggesting any more special editions. Just saying that maybe in that one.
No, I think you're dead on. But there's no way they could ever do it.
No, I don't think they could either. It would be too. At that point, you're going too far. You're playing with God.
But yeah, he should have been like, Anakin, I told you about the high ground.
It's just that would be just great for just like the meme. People would freak the fuck out. Oh my, yeah, that would be wonderful. But I mean, I don't think that like everybody who listens to this knows that we adore the original trilogy and we pretty much shit on the prequels, but like the original trilogy isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Like everything, like every movie ever made could be improved,
in its current state.
Especially not.
I think the original films, I mean, I'm going to have a bias because I was a little kid, but I really think they're as good as you're going to get with Star Wars. As pure as you're going to get.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms of what Star Wars is at its foundation, like, regardless, like, it doesn't matter how good these new films are, you're never going to be what the original trilogy was, because that was the heart and soul of Star Wars. That was what the entire saga was built off of. So, I mean, I don't know if you can match it in terms of just pure storytelling and quality of film.
Dude, here's the thing, and I heard it this week. It was an interview with a race car driver or something. Like, why are you into Star Wars? He's like, well, I was born in '93, so when the Phantom Menace came out, I was hooked.
Well, each generation.
Well, you gotta think he was 6 years old. I mean, you know what I mean? So we're always gonna sound like these fucking angry curmudgeon assholes.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, because there
are gonna be people that honestly treasure the prequels because those were their first experiences with Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think that we're gonna have to come to grips.
And they're wrong. They're wrong. Let's get that clear.
Like, objectively,
I mean, right?
Objectively, you are wrong. The prequels are just worse.
They're wrong.
Just worse.
I mean, if you honestly think the prequels are good or they're better than the originals, you're clearly wrong, but it's not your fault.
But I think we also have to prepare ourselves for like the generation that comes up with this new trilogy who looks at the old trilogy and is like, I can't really connect with it. And not really because
because it looks like it's from 1920.
Yeah, I mean, to them, they're going to be looking at the original.
They're going to be watching their movies in 4K, and we're going to have to ask them to watch a movie from 1977.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's just the different perspectives on it. Now, the good thing is that this new trilogy is looking excellent. So we'll be able to like be on the same level as them, as like, yes, the Star Wars that you grew up with, that Charlie's growing up with, is good. Like, this is a good Star Wars. But like, for that race car driver, we can't really level
in the
with
end,
them.
And if you ever have kids, you're going to have to approach it too. What the fuck do you do? What the fuck do you do? I mean, if you were born in the 70s, 80s, and I think that's it. I can't even say in the 90s at this point, because even at 9, and eventually in your high school years, you probably thought the prequels were okay. So if you're born in the obviously 60s, 50s, 70s, early 80s. How do you deliver Star Wars to a kid born in 2016?
I do it the way that the films are released. And I think maybe I said something different before, but like I keep flipping on this.
So as we experienced it, like old, prequel, new?
Yeah, because honestly, you miss out if you don't show it like that. You missed out on the biggest moment in the entire saga.
Right.
Like you miss out on the episode 5, I Am Your Father, which is like that's the biggest moment in the saga. There's no moment bigger than that in the entire saga up to this point. Like we don't know what's coming in 8 and 9, but like that is definitively, that's one of the biggest moments in movie history, let alone just the Star Wars franchise. So like if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like she's gonna miss that. And I don't think you want anybody to miss that. Like that is a moment that you want to have preserved for them and for you to witness. So that's how I would do it. I would do 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, I think that's
6,
one of the best
1, 2,
cases I've ever heard. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, have you taken her to the theater yet for Star Wars?
Oh, dude, you kidding me? I mean, we can't even go out for 30 minutes at B-dubs anymore. She's a maniac. She's a maniac, dude. I mean, she already has a concussion. She got a concussion last Sunday.
Oh, my gosh. I mean,
my kid's not even a year and a half old and already has her first concussion.
Well,
eating coffee table corners, not good.
Yeah. And I also saw that she's been turning off your power strip under your bed.
Oh, like a motherfucker. Dude, I mean, I was starting to think there was a ghost in my bedroom because, you know, my phone charger, my watch charger goes in a power strip, and it sits under my bed, and, you know, I plug them in at night and go to bed, don't think anything about it. I get up and nothing charges, and I look, oh, it's turned off. I turn it back on, and lo and behold, the next day it's off, and I eventually figured out it was my daughter getting under my bed and turning it off.
Perfect.
Yep, because she's got Dad's back. But, dude, I'm already on her with her. I mean, some of her favorite toys are Star Wars toys. I mean, she had a Star Wars Funko Pop by the time she was 6 months old. I bought her these little Star Wars bath toys. She literally sings when she sees me or something Star Wars, da 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 da. I mean, she can't talk yet, but she can do that. So I know I'm headed in the right direction.
See, dude, like
she has no interest in watching anything. Like,
she just doesn't have the
I can't get her even to watch
span.
dumb shit like dummy kid cartoons. She's like, no. She'd rather just be like,
See, like that and like my friend. I mean, like they had a kid a while ago. I think he's 6 or 7 now. Like he's pretty, you know, he's not a toddler anymore. Like, but they did the same thing. Like, and I made sure because I'm the kid's godfather. So like I was giving him Star Wars toys every time his birthday rolled around, every time Christmas rolled around, Star Wars, everything. Like he had a Mickey Mouse with a blue lightsaber and Jedi robes. I bought him, you know, the flick out lightsaber that you could turn on with the lights for on his birthday. Like I loaded this kid up with Star Wars, and so did they, and like he took to it. So like that was one thing that has always kind of worried me in the back of my mind is like if I do have a kid, like what if I try to like, you know, get them into Star Wars and they just don't take to it? That would like break my heart.
Dude, trust me. No, it is. It's a delicate line I have to walk here. I mean, because she shows no interest, like I said, in watching moving pictures. So I haven't even tried to show her anything Star Wars.
Yeah.
She just knows the songs from my wife and I humming it to her, and you know, voicing the characters when we play with her. But I mean, I hope to. I really do hope she takes to it.
I think she will. You got her on the right path. So anyway, like so that was a pretty deep rabbit hole we went down.
Another one, I forget how we even got there, but I think what I want to return to with the JJ discussion, I mean, we've kind of talked about, he's in. You and I are on top of it. We've acknowledged that the world's kind of split a little bit. I've honestly seen it's a 50-50 reaction, but I think from people that I would say are more hardcore Star Wars fans or just happier people in life in general, maybe more successful people, they're kind of behind it because I think they understand that he knows what he's doing. He's going to do what Disney wants. He's going to be faithful to it, and you're going to get something entertaining. May it feel familiar to something else? Possibly, but is it going to be good and entertaining? Yes, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so,
but
I mean, moving from this, the other announcement is the delay, right? We need to kind of talk about that, the delay.
Well, yeah, we had double delays, Nick. I mean, we got, and I'm telling you right now, and this is why it just kind of pisses me off in life, but I guarantee I was one of the first sites out there to get the news out that they officially delayed the in-theater presentation of Star Wars Episode 9 to December 20th, 2019 from, I believe, May 24th, 2019. Yep. And that was the first thing we got, but I was still kind of thinking, like, all right, well, they just delayed that, so they're probably still going to shoot the movie during January. But then, what was that, a day or two after we get, oh, yeah, by the way, the production's not even going to kick off until June of 2018.
Yeah, I guess they just wanted to keep the same length of time for production overall. So, like, the shift in the release date prompted the shift in the production date. I mean, I don't know if you can read too much more into it. I mean, do you just think that, like, JJ might have asked for, like, a pushback in the production? Like, hey...
Well, no, dude, you're on to something, because check this out. If you remember, The Last Jedi was supposed to come out in May.
Yeah.
And it, too, got pushed. And I just think it was more of the Lucasfilm Disney machine wanting to get back to the George Lucas May launches that in the end ultimately kind of forced these delays on top of the issues they've had with, directors or this, that, or the other thing. They just realized, like, okay, we're going to need a little more time to make sure it's perfect. So we're just going to go to December because, I mean, they did the same thing with Episode 8.
Yeah, same thing with Episode 8.
And you're dead on. It's Episode 9 is going to mirror exactly Episode 8's production schedule because Episode 8 started shooting the summer after The Force Awakens came out.
I mean, it makes sense.
So they're right back on the schedule for December's, and that's probably what it should have been. You're keeping even time frames now. There's no rushing.
Yeah, and I mean, also, if you think about it, all right, so we're going to have this odd period where if Han Solo does not get delayed into December, aren't we going to be in a situation where we're going to have a Star Wars release in December and then we're going to have one release in May the next year right behind it?
Well, if they push Han a full year, but I'm like you, dude. At this point, what the fuck's going on with the Han Solo movie? I mean, no title, no promotional footage outside of Ron Howard's tweets from the set.
Yeah.
They're supposed to release it in May.
Yeah, I mean, this is like...
And they're still fucking shooting.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, though, is like, okay.
There's no way this movie's coming out in May. No.
And that, to me, it just doesn't feel right. Like, you can't have Episode 8 release this December and then have Han Solo come out in May. To me, it just doesn't work, right? Like, that just doesn't fit. There's not enough time between those two films.
Right. And I think in the end, they probably should get the standalones to May releases and then keep if they're going to extend the Skywalker series, hopefully. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd love to see a whole 6-movie set with the new cast, just like we saw with the Skywalkers and the kids and the dads and the moms.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I think the standalone should be kind of the spring releases, just kind of how the MCU operates, where you're always going to get a spring movie and you're probably going to get something in the fall.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good deal. But I mean, like you said, we're talking 3 months until Episode 8, but we're also talking 8 months until Han Solo. And like you said, we have no trailer. We have no video footage of this movie at all. Zero. None. And
I mean, unless it's all practical effects, there's no fucking shot in hell this movie's ready for May.
Absolutely not. And like we don't even have a title. Like, we don't have a title. we don't have an official poster for, like, we don't have any visual representation for this movie at all. I mean, Do you think that they're waiting to do you think that they know they're going to delay this to December again?
Well,
they're gonna
what's
push
the fucking point of sitting on that news though?
Do you think that they just don't want to push 2 movies back in a row? Do you want to maybe stagger the news? I don't know.
Shit. I mean, the Han Solo debacle is 2 months old at this point. Why not just come out then and say, hey, we switched directors, we got to rewrite some shit? Because the word is, from my buddy in Hollywood, he's like, dude, they're not really having to redo anything but dialogue scenes.
Okay.
He's like, all the action and shit's legit.
Okay.
He said, so it's basically just those 2 guys just botched any type of dialogue and character building.
That's really, that kind of makes sense though from people who directed the Lego movie. Those aren't exactly big on exposition and character building.
And I think that was the word we got when they got axed, was that they were almost making it too much of a comedy.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Especially considering the cast of characters that we're playing with. You could see Han, Chewie, and Lando in a buddy comedy flick.
Yeah,
but it's not Star Wars.
In a certain way. They're not like a Beavis and Butthead duo,
No.
In a certain way.
Yeah, it would have to be completely. It's almost like a buddy.
I think the furthest you could push it would be like a Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, that type of relationship between those 2.
Yeah, I agree. So, it is interesting to hear, though, that they're just reshooting dialogue. And, we also heard that, if they're okay with all the action and they're reshooting all the dialogue, that also means that, 1, those directors just sucked at exposition and writing to fill in the dialogue scenes. But 2, there was a lot of concern around Alden Ehrenreich's acting, so that also had to coincide with the dialogue. Does he just not talk to people well? Is he struggling with his interpersonal relationships in the movie? Can he I'd like to see, in the end where the difficulty with him lies, because if all the action's fine and he did well in that, then there's got to be something that he's not hitting in these conversational beats, and I want to see if that comes through in the film.
Yeah, so there's your Han Solo tangent for the evening, people.
Yeah. So
we don't disappoint with that random shit.
Are you willing to put any money on it that they're going to push it to December? What do you think the odds are on that?
100%.
Yeah, I have that feeling too.
I'm still dumbfounded we don't have a fucking trailer for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, and dude, I actually
I'm not trying to get down the semantics here, but what we saw in April was technically a teaser. It was classified as a teaser. We do not have the first official trailer for The Last Jedi yet. And as Nick said, it's literally, 91 days away?
Yeah. So, I read an article today, and it was an op-ed. And the guy who wrote it was literally asking, do we even need another trailer? Is there a reason for them to put out another one, like a full length, not like TV spots? 50
absolutely
30. Not,
except for, yeah.
For us, we want it. We're fucking chopping at the bit. Where is this content? We've been waiting for it.
But business-wise, it's absolutely not needed. I've never known why anyone spends any money to promote a Star Wars movie.
You're right. They don't really need to. Maybe they just feel look, we don't need to spend $100 million on advertising for this film. We don't need to do it. We know they maybe Disney and Lucasfilm are in the back. They're charting buzz.
I'll be blown away. I'll be blown away if by November we're not getting daily TV spots. Even for Star Wars.
You see, I feel
if not, well then, hey, kudos to Disney, because I don't think it's going to impact ticket sales in the least.
No, I don't think it will either. I think that might be all we get though. I don't think we're gonna I don't know. If we're going to get another full length.
Way we're not going to get at least a 2.5 minute look at this movie.
I don't know, man. I just at this point, when do you drop it? There's no time left. When is it? everything's passed. All the cons are gone, right? Is there any big con coming to, like,
New York City?
But that's not like New York City is not like San Diego.
It's not even close. You're right.
I mean, like if you were waiting for like, if you're a film company,
dude, I don't know. I don't.
I don't think that you have an opportunity to drop a 2.5 minute on anything at this point. We've already talked about it on the last cast. Like, first week of NFL has come and gone. It wasn't there. There's no
Thor Ragnarok.
True. I mean, that's true. I keep forgetting that, like, we have basically every Disney film every Disney film that hits theaters is an opportunity to drop the Star Wars trailer in the beginning of that, right? Like,
and that, I still think that's late because I believe that's an early November release.
Yeah.
But I believe that's the next major Disney bomb. So, I mean, if there's going to be a Disney family trailer, that's it.
Yeah. Could they put it in front of Justice League?
Yeah, why not? I mean, unless
Justice League's November too, I think.
I mean, unless Disney and Marvel have some sort of deal where they won't promote their movies in front of a DC film. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm just sitting here trying to think of, like, if I'm a marketing person and I wanted to guarantee eyes or guarantee buzz.
That's just what we're saying. You don't even have to think that. Yeah. They could drop it fucking Sunday at 2 a.m.
Oh yeah, and it would explode.
It would blow the fuck up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't think they need to do it. Like, I think if they just go out with the 15 to 30 second TV spot starting in November, late October, that's all you need. Like, people are going to see it. They don't need to give up. Maybe they just feel like...
You're talking about regular people, dude. We need...
we need it. I mean, like... But they know that people like us, you know, will go see it multiple times regardless. They could have not put out anything and we still would have gone and seen it. It doesn't change what we do.
Hey, dude, all I need is a fucking date and time, and I'm going to show up and watch anything Star Wars.
You're right, yeah. I mean, it's 100%. So maybe they just feel
tell me where to be.
Maybe they feel like they can't show anything else without giving up too much of the story that they don't want to.
I guess. I just... There's going to be something. I have no idea when, but there's going to be something.
Yeah, of the logical...
Hey, take that to the bank, people. How do you like that for hedging bets?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I'm just...
There's going to be something at some time.
I mean, but to me, just like all of the logical moments, like where as a marketing person, I'm like, this is where you do it, or this is where you do it, or this is where... There's none left. They're all gone. Unless it's like, what? I mean, I don't even know. Like,
it could be next Tuesday. It doesn't matter. I really don't think it matters.
Yeah, you're right.
They're gonna get a bang for their buck regardless.
You're 100% right. So we'll see. We'll see if it's gonna be next Tuesday or 2 a.m. on October 14th, whenever that is. Like, who knows? Something's gonna happen. It's gonna come out and it's gonna get 150 million views in 10 hours or whatever.
When does Battlefront 2 come out?
Oh, Jesus.
That's November 2, I think.
Is it? I haven't really been keeping up with video game releases, honestly. So I'm not... Let me check.
I think it is. Go to the Magic Box.
The Magic Google. November 17th, 2017. So, yeah, I mean, that could be it.
I still think that's late, too. Well, hey, we'll see what happens, people. I mean... I think we've pretty much exhausted the JJ debate, and we've obviously gone down a few little rabbit holes that are always fun to talk about. You never know. I mean, we shit on the Han Solo movie. That seems to be our specialty.
But just to
at this point in
just
time,
to be honest,
but it opens itself up to being shit on.
It does, but I feel much more comfortable with Ron Howard in the director's chair now.
Oh, of course.
So even though we
safe.
may poke fun, I'm way more confident that this movie will be good than I was previously.
Yeah, and I don't want you guys to think we're bitching about it being delayed. I want it to be
it's
delayed.
like we're kind of hoping that it is delayed, and then that way we know.
I never want a Star Wars movie to come out that gets a Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's not 90% fresh, at least, then we're disappointed.
I mean, as ridiculous as it is to that site, literally, they're starting to like say that it caused the fall of the summer box office this summer.
Jeez.
Because I still think people should kind of form their own opinions, but it matters in this day and age.
Dude, it is crazy how people are so dependent on like what the review is on that, or even other sites before they go see a movie. Like, honestly, I haven't looked at a fucking movie review in God knows how long, because I just don't care what people think about it.
It's still not like you're spending $1 million. Like, I could see waiting for a review for a video game.
Yeah, because it's $60.
That's upwards of $60.
You're paying like...
So you might want to just kind of get someone's opinion, but...
I mean, for a matinee $6 film,
I mean,
like,
yeah, like
bro.
under $10, just go fucking watch it. I mean, if you have the time, just go fucking watch it. So, no Rotten Tomatoes in Star Wars land, people. So get that fucking Han Solo movie straight.
Yeah, figure your shit out, guys, and let us know, because we're waiting. I mean, we want to like it. We want to like every Star Wars movie. I'm sure we're gonna like it, but give us some news. Give us a fucking poster. Give us a title. I mean, I'm sure you know what the movie's called, right, guys? Let us know. Give us some kind of information.
In the end, you know it's going to come out Han Solo.
Yeah,
Star Wars
exactly. Like, and
we're all going to be like, well, I guess they did tell us that many, many years ago.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, who knows? I mean, we got 8 months till that. We got 3 months till The Last Jedi. So there's Star Wars in the pipeline.
Yes. I'm excited, dude. I cannot wait. I literally cannot wait. I still don't know where I'm going to see it. There's a chance I may be in Vegas for the launch, but you never know. That kind of gets me nervous, but if I can get out there, I think it'd be fun. Either way, I cannot wait to see The Last Jedi, especially after I get my hands on the toys, starting to see the figures a bit more. I want to learn more about Snoke. I want to see this dude. What the hell is he doing? What's he up to? Let's get it on. All right, buddy. Anything else you want to close with?
I think we've hit all the beats, man. We really covered it. So let us know what you think. Let us know if you don't like J.J. Abrams and you're one of our listeners. Let us know who you wanted to see in the director's chair for episode 9. Leave a comment on the YouTube video. Send us a tweet at Entertainment Buddha. You know. Let us know.
Yeah, we know there's people, at least on the Blurberry platform, listening. I mean, we see it. We love you. We appreciate the downloads. So any way you can get a hold of us, either through YouTube, because we do throw these up on YouTube. So youtube.com/entertainmentbuddha. Obviously, the site, entertainmentbuddha.com. If you go to features, podcasts is linked under there. You can hit it there. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play. We're on Android. You can even subscribe to it RSS style or through email. We need you to consume it. We just want to hear it. We want to hear back. We want feedback. We want to know if we suck, if we're idiots. We get some of that on YouTube, which we appreciate one way or the other. So we need more of it. Let us know. Inundate us with your love or hate. Trolls are welcome. All right, brother. You know how we're going to end this, and that is to say to everyone out there, as we always want you to live your life, and we always want you to be conscious of the Force. So please, make sure that the Force is with you always.